Are you willing to live like no one else now, so later you can live like no one else?
Here's your story, let's begin. The water's fine, come on, dive in. The future's here, it's right before your eyes. Step by step, you're on your way. Welcome to Brighter Day.
Hello, Jackie and Ricky here.
With Enjoying Life's Journey, welcome back to the channel. So today we wanted to talk about how we got out of debt. So let's jump in. We wanted to talk about how we got out of debt and basically some of the sacrifices, I guess you could say, that we made in order to do it. Dave Ramsey always says you have to be willing to live like no one else now so that later you can live like no one else. So basically, what does he mean by that? He means, make those sacrifices now to get out of debt and to start living on less than you make so that you can actually start saving that money for the things that you truly want. And then later, you can live like no one else. So like a little backstory, basically, we paid off all of our debt February of 2016. And it took us about 2.5 years to do it. We didn't have a huge amount of debt. We had about $25,000 worth of debt. But the thing here is that we are actually a low income, virtually a one income family. And if we were able to get out of debt, then anyone can get out of debt. Again, we might not have had as much debt as some people, but if you do some of the things, some of the tips that we're going to give you, or the ways that we were able to do it, and you work as a team, then you could probably accomplish a lot more even in a shorter period of time than we did.
Cut back on the budget. We did the envelope system.
Well, the first thing we did was we got on a written zero-based budget.
Yeah.
And what that allowed us to do is to see what we were actually spending our money on. For us, getting out of debt wasn't just something we wanted to do. It almost became like a necessity, like we had to do it. We were stuck. We couldn't even pay our regular living expenses. We couldn't even pay our apartment rent. We couldn't, buy food. We were, moving in with my dad. We were on food stamps. We were in a bad situation, and we had to wake up and figure out what was going on. And the fact of the matter was we weren't budgeting.
Yeah, and I actually sat down and I asked my wife, where's our money going to?
Yeah, because he's like, I'm working. Like, where's all of our money going?
Yep.
And so the good thing was I started doing the budget, and so I could show him over half of our income, because we were a low income. We were a single income family because we chose that I would be home with the girls, and the biggest thing there was to cut back on daycare expenses, so we didn't have to pay any child care. So I was basically home with the girls. At the time, we only had Arcadia. But yeah, Ricky said, where's the money going? And I said, well, over half of our income was going to debt payments, a car payment, student loan payments, a Best Buy credit card. And so we didn't really have, too much debt at that time, but we weren't living, I guess, Dave Ramsey says live on less than you make, and we obviously weren't doing that. We didn't know how. So first thing was we got on a budget, we figured out where the money was going, and then we started cutting back on things that were no longer a necessity for us. So what are some of the things we cut back on?
Alright, cable. We downgrade to basic phone. Got rid of Netflix, Hulu. We cut our food budget down to
$8 a day. Stopped eating out. We saw that we actually had some room to cut back on some stuff. So we started cutting back on things that are kind of small, like you may not think twice about them. For instance, our cable and internet, we got rid of both of those. And it might be like, when you're signing up for a program, you might think, oh, $50 a month isn't that much money. But when you're trying to get out of debt and you can't even pay your rent payment, $50 a few times can add up quite a bit. So we got rid of that. I don't know the exact amount. I'm just estimating it because it was actually quite a while ago. We got rid of Netflix, which again, you know, at the time I think we were paying like $8 and something. So again, that's going to be a bill that you're not going to look at as a huge, like it's not going to make a big difference, but it will help. So we got rid of, so we were basically just doing what the bare minimum, whatever we possibly could get rid of. So we cut our grocery budget down to extremely low. We weren't eating the best quality, you know, we weren't eating the best meals. Like Dave Ramsey says, beans and rice and beans. You know, eat like that now. Be willing to live like no one else now. So later you can buy whatever you want to eat. You know, you can have those luxury items that you want. The goal is to focus on getting out of debt. So you know, we cut our food budget down to about $8 a day. And if you saw, I had a video on when we were doing $9 a day. And since then, we've increased it to $10 a day. So, you know, it's just, you think of it as temporary, but for us, it was like, we had to get out of debt. It was no longer an idea of getting out of a debt. It was, we had to. We had no choice. We weren't going to be able to survive the way we were living. Well, and the biggest one, too, was we stopped, we made a commitment to stop borrowing money. We weren't really borrowing a ton of money at the time. We already had our car financed and things like that, but we decided we were no longer going to borrow money. So I had a Best Buy credit card, so it was okay, no longer can we use the Best Buy credit card. The other thing was we stopped, for almost a year, we stopped eating out, and we did our best to only cook at home. We stopped going, like if our friends invited us to go out for a happy hour or something like that, we turned them down. We said, sorry, you know, we don't have the extra money to do that. And you know, we had a lot of friends that looked at us like we were struggling, like we had no money, but that's because we chose to start spending every extra penny on getting out of debt. Dave Ramsey talks about doing the debt snowball. We did the debt snowball, but we also did a few things different than what he recommended. Like I mentioned, Ricky was working. He was primarily the only one working. And then in order for us to get what Dave Ramsey calls gazelle intense, was I got a part-time night job. So that way I was still able to be home with the girls without having to pay for daycare, and then I delivered newspapers at night, and that was enough. I did that for a couple months, and that was enough to pay off a credit card and a student loan, which freed up roughly $100 and something a month that we wouldn't have had. We were paying that towards those debt payments. So then we were able to take that extra $100 and something a month and now apply it to our next biggest debt. So the idea with the debt snowball is that you pay your minimum payments on everything except for your smallest balance, and then you tackle that smallest balance with everything extra you have. And so that way when you pay it off fast, and it gives you that momentum, and it gives you that encouragement that you can do it, and that you actually start feeling good about it, and you actually start wanting to pay off debt. The more debt you pay off, the more you want to pay off, because it just gives you that accomplishment that you've done it. I did that job for a little bit, and then we were back, you know, doing the one income thing. And then we agreed that when we got our tax refund, that it was gonna pretty much all go. We were gonna do two things. We were gonna make sure we had money put aside for specific things that we knew would come up, like the car registration, things like that we used to look at as an emergency, like we didn't have the money for it to the last minute. So we made sure we used our tax refund to put money aside for those things. And then we tackled, the first big debt we tackled actually was the car. So that first year we committed to getting out of debt, we paid off the car. And this is where we did it a little different than what Dave Ramsey says, because he says, you know, tackle your smallest debts first. But for us, our car payment was almost $400 a month, and that was, that was going that was a good amount of our paychecks.
Yeah.
I think Ricky's paycheck, each individual paycheck was only
600.
like 600 something at that time.
Yeah.
So almost one entire paycheck was for a car payment, which is insane. And our car's not that expensive. We had a really high interest rate, and that's a different story for me to tell you about also. But basically though, so we said we're paying off this car, and I think we owed $4,000 something. So we paid off the car, so that freed up almost $400 a month. So then we were able to start tackling some of that other debt. Keep in mind, we were living with my dad at this time. We paid him only a fraction of what we were paying when we lived in the apartment, but we were paying him a monthly payment. So it was helping us. Well, then we made a video a long time ago about how things changed. We ended up, it was time for us to move out of our own. My dad had found his new wife, and they were getting a place, so we had to start getting a place. So it put a little bit of a setback on what we were trying to do, because now that extra $400 a month was to be used for a rent payment.
Us moving out actually pushed us to.
Well, it pushed us to have to do it sooner.
Yeah.
So then when we moved out, I had to get another job, because we still were not in a position to be able to live on our own. We moved to the cheapest part of the state that we could. My friend lived there, and we had been talking, and she'd been talking about how much they were paying for daycare, and her husband made a comment about he'd rather pay me to watch the kids, and so we ended up coming up with a solution that kind of helped both of us, and we moved out there, and I started nannying her kids, and so she paid me every month. They were able to pay about half of what they were paying for daycare, so it helped them to start getting their finances in order as well. And so it was a good setup for a little while. We were able to pay off some more debt. We were able to actually, we were finally back on our own feet. We weren't living with my dad anymore. We were living on our own. We were getting out of debt. And then towards the end of that year was when we sat down. We decided we wanted to do the full-time travel RVing lifestyle, and that's kind of when we started planning for this. And so it took us almost a year or so till we actually had our why we were getting out of debt. Before it was like we had to get out of debt, and then it became why we wanted to get out of debt. So then that gave us even more fuel to do it, because now it wasn't just so we could survive, it was actually so we could thrive, and so we could have that extra money to buy the RV with cash, so we could have that extra money to save up so we could hit the road. And then it became, all right, our expenses are so low, and we've gotten accustomed to living on such a low amount that now we can work less because we can live on less, so we can save up money while we're working, and then we can have free time. So now, it took us 2.5 years, so we did that second year of our tax refund. We paid off the rest of the debt that we had. We had Ricky's motorcycle, we had my final student loan, and that was pretty much what was left from that tax return of our debt. So we were officially debt-free in February, and now we're living like nobody else.
Yep.
I mean, we're here in the middle of the week. We're able to drive up. We're in Texas. We're visiting family, friends, and we're in the middle of the week. We're able to just go and say, you know what, we want to do a day trip to the beach, so we're going to go to the beach. And, so I guess our 3 big key points, if you take away anything from our story, the first one is you have to start getting on a written budget. You need to know where your money's going. You need to start telling your money where to go, or it's going to control you, and you're going to be stuck living day to day, paycheck to paycheck. No matter how much money you make. Because if you don't manage your money, you're not gonna be able to accomplish any goals that you have. The second one is, you know, be willing to make those sacrifices. Live like no one else is willing to live right now, so you can get out of debt, take a handle of your money, and start living the life that you actually want to live.
It is going to be a sacrifice. But
Yeah.
just think about the possibilities and what you can have now.
Yeah. And I'd say the third thing is have your why. Why do you want to get out of debt? Why is it a must for you? And be a team with your spouse. You guys have to be a team. If you work together, you can accomplish amazing things, no matter how much money you make. Like I said, we were a low-income family, living with my dad on food stamps, and we were able to get out from underneath it all, get out of debt, and now we're living the life that we want to live. And I just hope that it's inspiring for you guys, and that you guys are willing to do what it takes. I know you can do it. We did it.
And you know, you don't really have to do the same lifestyle we're doing. That's all up to you. How you wanna use your own freedom to enjoy time with family, get to travel. That's however you wanna do it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why you have to have your why. You know, why do you want to get out of debt?
I have patience because time really does go by quick.
It goes by fast.
Yep.
I can't even believe it. Arcadia's turning 6 next month. I can't even believe it. Like we started that journey. You know, she was probably 3, like just under 3 was when I first found out about budgeting, the zero-based budget, and you know, it's just crazy because we did it. You know, so if you make more money than us, you can do it faster.
Oh yeah.
If you have, you know, you might have more debt than us, but you can still do it. You know, I took on a few second jobs, but they were part-time jobs. They weren't full-time jobs. So if you have 2 of you working a full-time job, you can tackle it even more. We chose that the best thing for us was for me to take care of the girls, so we didn't have daycare expenses. Daycare expenses are a lot. So if you guys are able to, you know, get intense with it. One of you switch to nights. You know, you both don't have to work days. And if you look at it as a temporary situation, then you can do it. And it's going to be hard. And, you know, honestly, you might get home with the kids and start realizing, like, yeah, you know what, I would actually like to just stay home with the kids, whether it's, you know, the mom or dad, whoever. You know, one of you stay home with the kids during the day and then work at night. And if you get out of debt, then if that person wants to stay home with the kids, then you can afford to stay home with the kids because you won't have to worry about it. You won't have to worry about doing it. So that's one thing of as far as lifestyle, trying to change. Don't, you know, one of you work nights, one of you work days, take care of your kids. That way to not pay daycare. The other thing I wanted to mention was about your car situation. If you guys have a bunch of cars, you don't need a bunch of cars. We basically had our car, we had one car, and then we had our motorcycles. So, you know, Ricky rode the motorcycle most of the time, so that saved on gas, and you know, a motorcycle is a lot cheaper than a car. The other thing, you know, Dave Ramsey mentions, like, if you're in a car payment or a car that's way too expensive for you, trade it in, downsize, you know, downgrade. Start, you know, at least, you know, we understand a car's a necessity, but you don't need a brand new car, you don't need the latest thing. We have a 2009 Yaris, Toyota Yaris. We don't have any power, there's no power locks, no power windows, we don't have cruise control. It's all the very standard basic stuff.
But it gets you.
Yeah, but it's a nice car.
Where you want to go.
Yep, and you know, we paid it off. We plan on keeping this thing and we're gonna be next car, is that if you don't have the cash to purchase an item, you can't afford it, period. You have to change your mindset
Yeah.
about debt. You have to change your mindset, and you have to be willing to be patient for what you want. Instead of sacrificing for what you want the most, for what you want now, you have to be patient and just change your mindset about money and altogether. Stop borrowing debt. Stop getting it, get out of that mindset of, well, I want it now and I don't have the money, but I'll just borrow the money because I can make the monthly payment. Because you don't know, you might lose your job and then you can't make the monthly payment anymore. And technically, if you're still making payments on anything, you don't own crap. You don't own anything. You don't own it. So the amount of sacrifice and the effort and the patience that you take to save up, that you actually save up to pay for something cash, then you appreciate it more, you're going to make it last longer, you're going to take care of it, and it's just so much more rewarding. So just get out of that mindset of even borrowing debt. You need to get in the mindset that debt doesn't exist, and that if you don't have the cash to purchase something, you can't afford it. That's just it.
So for the single parents, if you have parents who offer help or friends, take it.
Yeah. If you're in that situation where you don't have someone that can work nights and take care of the kids during the day, whether you're a couple and one of you can't, one of you just can't, you're already in your career and you can't switch to nights, or you're a single parent and you can't, you obviously you have to do that. If you're able to have friends who are willing, if your kids are still in daycare age and they're not in school yet, if you have any friends who are willing, who are able to help, or sometimes it is easier for people to watch your kids in the evening, so maybe you switch to evenings and you have a friend who's willing to watch your child during the night because they're just sleeping, so they're not really watching them. We understand, I understand, especially from what my friend was paying in daycare. Daycare is outrageous. So if you can somehow work something out with a friend or a family member to even just pay half of what daycare would cost you, and just be like, let them know, I need to get out of debt, I'm trying to get out of debt, and ask for help when you need it, and people will be there to help you. And don't be ashamed to take it. Don't be ashamed to ask for it. We had to ask for help, and it helped us tremendously. We'd probably still be stuck. Who knows if we hadn't asked help from my dad. Like I said, if you don't have family members around, ask some friends. Figure it out. Ask some. There's people out there that are willing to help you.
There are good people out there that's really going to help.
Mm-hmm. But the biggest thing is, you got to cut out those small things. They're going to seem like such a small thing. Like I said, Netflix. Oh, it's only $9 a month or $10, whatever. But you know what? That's an extra $10 that you can put towards a debt that you didn't have before. You can take on, if you have the ability to take on another job or to start trying to make money as an entrepreneur at home. Maybe start building something on the side as you're doing it. Do garage sales. If you need to come up with money quick, do garage sales. Sell stuff on Craigslist. That's what, we did that too. You gotta get yourself out from underneath this pile of, it's just holding us back, so there's always ways to do it. If you guys have any questions, if you have a particular situation and you need advice about it, leave it in the comments below. Or if you would like to reach out in a more private way, leave us a comment below and we'll reach out to you and give you our email address or something. So put your questions in the comments, and we're here hopefully to give you inspiration and guidance in the best way that we can, because like I said, we were a low-income family on food stamps living with my dad, and we were able to get out of it and get out of debt, and now we're able to enjoy our life the way we want to. So we can do it, you guys can do it. Just if you need help, if you need guidance, if you have questions, leave them in the comments, and we're here for you.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Bye. So we are at Mustang Island, just past Corpus Christi in Texas. And there is the ocean.